If you look for it, I've got a sneaky feeling you'll find that love actually is all around.
Valentine's Day is right around the corner, and you know we all have that special someone that we want to give a really heartfelt gift to, but for whatever reason ran out of time. So in my opinion, the best thing you can do is create a DIY homemade gift that comes straight from your heart. So for today's video, I'm going to be sharing 10 DIY Valentine's Day gifts. They range from beginner to advanced, and I am going to be including more in the description, including further inspiration. And while throughout the video, I am going to be providing what supplies you need for each of the crafts, I will also be including all of the supplies in the description for ease of access. And just for a little free promo, I found most of these ideas honestly on Pinterest, so make sure you go follow me on my Pinterest. Starting off with the beginner section, this is mostly crafts that you can create with any of the supplies that you already have at home. They're super easy, anybody can do them. And I've compiled my top 3 to share with you guys for today. First is first, a good old handmade card, a love letter, the whole deal. There's really no way that you can go wrong with a homemade card for Valentine's Day. What I like to do is you can purchase, the pre-made blank cards at Michael's or Joann's or any craft store, or you can even just take some cardstock, fold it in half, cut out whatever shape you desire. For Valentine's Day, I think it's super fun to make, obviously, a heart-shaped card, but you can do a lot with just a simple square or rectangle as well. My favorite pen to use is the Sakura Pigma Micron in the size 0.8 millimeters. Hopefully I'm saying that correctly. And my favorite brushes, or I guess markers, are the dual brush pens in watercolor. However, sometimes if I'm feeling really fancy, I'll break out the real watercolors and pair that with that same pen to do the lining for those types of cards. You also can, of course, make more 3D looking cards by using cardstock, cutting out different layers, and pasting that on with your roller tape. And of course, on the inside, it would not be complete without writing a love letter from your heart. This next beginner craft is one of my favorites because not only is it really fun to make, but it's way more personalizable and unique than some of the other ones. To start off, you just need to make the sleeve for the records that you'll be creating later. I like to take cardstock, you can cut it into a rectangle, and on the one half, cut out the circle in the middle and the notch at the top, fold it over, and then glue down the sides. The next step is the fun part where you get to go through and choose the songs that you want to include in your playlist. I've created a particular customizable design that I like to use to create the graphics for my records, which will be included in the description of this video if you're interested in using it. As you can see in that file, I like to have a double-sided vinyl with the front having a lyric that is important to me or whoever the gift is for, and then the back contains the title of the song and the Spotify code. The only thing you have to be careful about is making sure that when you print out the vinyl records, they actually fit within the record sleeve. So you need to measure the width of your record sleeve and create the diameter of your vinyl records to be a little bit smaller than that. This is one of my favorite crafts that I have created personally, and I think that it's one of the more fun ones and creative ones to make. This next gift you've probably all seen if you have literally ever been on Pinterest, but love coupons are a super easy but personalizable gift. You can either draw these out yourself with a pen and paper, or there are so many pre-made ones online that you can just print out and cut out. I like to punch holes on the top corner of the coupon, and you can just put those on a key ring. You could also put them in a jar that can be picked out. Really, the opportunities are endless. Now we're going to be moving into our more intermediate level crafts. I have categorized these crafts as intermediate because they do require you to likely have to go out and buy some supplies for them, unless you have these hanging around your house. Then you're all set. This first trend went viral on TikTok, I want to say a few years ago. It is the lipstick kiss t-shirts or sweatshirts, if you have seen those. You're going to want to purchase a blank t-shirt. This can be from Michael's, Joann's, wherever, as well as some non-toxic fabric paint in whatever color you want, probably red or pink and white. You're going to tape off the area on your shirt with masking tape, and then you can get to work. When I first saw this trend on TikTok, I remember being concerned about the health issues that one might acquire from putting paint on their lips. But after completing research, rest assured, you can put non-toxic fabric paint on your lips with no issues. You're going to want to let the paint dry between layers and at the very end as well. You can use a hairbrush to try to speed up this process if you want. To make the print permanent, to make sure it really doesn't wash off in the wash, you can place some parchment paper over the design after removing the masking tape, and then just lightly iron over your design. Then you're good to go. This next idea is actually pretty similar to the previous one, but more as a decorative piece. So all you're gonna need is normal printer paper, a pigmented lipstick, and a pen. Start by applying the lipstick to your lips and then just kissing the entire spread of the paper, making sure to leave room between the kisses so that you can cut them out later. After cutting out the lip marks and waiting for the lipstick to dry, you can then flip them over and write a little note on it, or you can even leave them blank. I like to then store them in a jar, put a little label on them. You can really do anything with these. Similarly to the previous craft, for this next one, you're also going to need a jar. You can then either take strips of paper or popsicle sticks, and on each one write a date idea. You're gonna then put all the completed ones into the jar so that next date night, you can randomly pick one. If you wanna get even fancier, you can even group the types of date nights by color and color coordinate the papers or the popsicle sticks. Lastly, but certainly not least, there is so much you can do with clay for Valentine's Day. One of my favorite ideas that I saw, and something that I actually really want to do this year, is make clay picture frames or even Polaroid holders. For these types of projects, I would recommend using polymer oven-baked clay, just because there are so many different color options. It's pretty affordable and it's really easy to model it. For the larger frame, you would want to start by creating the background of the frame and then separately creating the outline and attaching that on. For the Polaroid stands, you can really sculpt anything that you want. It can be something of sentimental value. It can be as simple as a heart. You just want to make sure that it is sturdy and flat on the bottom so that it won't tip over when you put the Polaroid in it, and make sure you leave an imprint of the Polaroid before you bake the clay. For either of these projects, you're then going to bake it at the required time and you're basically done. If you want a more shiny rather than a matte look, you can paint over the clay with clear nail polish, and if you wanted to even add more designs after you bake the clay, you can always paint on with acrylic paint. Lastly, we're going to move on to the more advanced projects. I've classified these as advanced because they require some prior knowledge of either crochet or sewing, and they also require more supplies than the previous crafts. I do want to preface this with the fact that these are definitely more complex projects, and I'm only going to be going over the general process and supplies that you need for them. But if you're interested in a more in-depth tutorial, I would love to create that for any of these projects. So let me know in the comments below. This first one is definitely a bigger sized gift, so a little bit more time intensive, but I think any sort of heart, girly, pink ribbony crochet bag is perfect for Valentine's Day. There are a few different options or directions you could take this in. Of course, there are so many patterns for different granny square Valentine's Day heart-themed bags, which I think are super cute. I also really love the patterns that are heart-shaped bags. But what I'm really most excited about is this bag, which I created a few years ago now. It's titled the Cinta bag. Hopefully I'm saying that right. It was super easy to follow. I completed it in just a few hours, and I loved being able to mix the textiles and choose and layer the different ribbons to weave into the actual crochet project. If you're into sewing or even just new to sewing, I think a super cute DIY Valentine's Day gift is heart-shaped coasters. There are so many different ways you could go with this. You could do just a plain pink pattern. You could do a really funky pattern. Depending on who the gift is for, you can really match their personality. If you want your coaster to have a little bit more cushion to it, you can always layer a piece of fleece inside before you sew around the edges. You can also always experiment with different textures and textiles. I really like the look of this ruffle around the edge, but you can also look at doing more stitches on the inside of the heart, appliques, or really fun buttons as well. Lastly, one of the cutest gifts ever, in my opinion, are crochet flower bouquets. I have made these for Mother's Day in the past, and they have always been a hit. There are a million free patterns online for probably any flower you could think of. Some of my favorites are creating lavender and tulips. I think that they come out really well. For certain flowers, you do need stuffing, but for the most part, you just need a little bit of yarn and some floral wire. The yarn that I like to use for these projects are the Lion brand yarn bonbons. I think that they're perfect for this. There's just enough yarn to make a couple flowers, and the green matches the green floral yarn that Michaels has almost perfectly. You can choose to either just leave the wire as is. I've done that before. You can also wrap the wire in green yarn. This makes it really easy to start wrapping, attach a crochet leaf, and then continue wrapping up the stem before attaching it into the actual flower with hot glue. Because the flowers are generally so small, this is a super easy last-minute gift that looks like you put a lot of time and effort into it. That is all I have for you guys today. If this video helped you, make sure to leave a like, subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next one.